You know that feeling when everything looks perfect on the outside, the smiling photos, the soft light, the quiet music, but underneath, real life is a little messier? That's where Lydia Plath and her husband, Zac Wyse, are right now. Picture this: a small apartment in Tallahassee, 2 nightstands still waiting to be delivered, and the morning sun filtering through the blinds. Lydia's crawling across the bed just to turn off her alarm, laughing as Zac teases her for setting it too early again. It's young love in its truest form, imperfect, sweet, and honest. But what makes this moment powerful isn't the laughter, it's the learning. Every day, Lydia and Zac are figuring out how to share a life together, how to communicate, how to compromise, how to keep faith at the center even when things feel uncertain. They're not living in a fairy tale, they're living in a small apartment filled with gratitude, faith, and the growing pains of real love. Hi everyone, this is Sarah from Sister Wives Daily, and I'm so glad you're here. If you love real stories, not the polished versions, but the raw human ones that remind us we're all figuring it out, make sure to subscribe and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I really want to hear how you feel about Lydia and Zac's journey this season, because what's happening between them says a lot about how faith, family, and love collide on Welcome to Plathville. Now, Lydia's story has always stood out in the Plath family. While her siblings, Ethan, Mariah, and Micah, pushed against their strict upbringing, Lydia stayed close to her parents, Kim and Barry. She became known as the calm one, the prayerful one, the sister who held everything together when the rest of the family seemed to be breaking apart. For years, she watched her older siblings move out, question their beliefs, and chase independence while she quietly stayed home, taking care of younger siblings and praying for peace. But as the show moved forward, Lydia began her own kind of transformation, quieter than Mariah's rebellion, slower than Ethan's escape, but just as meaningful. She found Zac, a man who shared her faith, who matched her steadiness with kindness, and who saw beyond the image of the good daughter. Their love story wasn't about defying the family, it was about finding balance between the values she was raised with and the adult life she wanted to build. Now, as newlyweds, Lydia and Zac are facing their first real tests. Marriage, as she's learning, is both beautiful and demanding. The joy of companionship comes with the work of learning each other's rhythms. Who does the dishes? Who forgets? To text back? Who needs quiet time? Who wants to talk everything out? And when you've grown up in a world where everything was guided by faith and family, those small moments of tension feel even bigger. What's striking this season is how Lydia handles those challenges. Instead of dramatizing every disagreement, she grounds herself in gratitude. She talks about how faith gives her peace, how prayer brings her back to center. And Zac, steady, thoughtful Zac, meets her halfway. Together, they're building a relationship that feels honest, not performative. Still, even the most faithful hearts get tested. They're living under a spotlight, not just as a young couple, but as part of a family that viewers have watched fracture and heal over years. Every move they make, every post they share, every quiet comment can spark a wave of opinions online. And yet, through all of it, they keep showing up for each other. Their apartment may be small, but their story feels big, because it's about more than marriage. It's about 2 people learning how to love, forgive, and grow without losing themselves or their beliefs. And that's where we'll start today, with Lydia and Zac, the Plath couple who are proving that sometimes faith isn't just what you preach, it's what you practice every single day behind closed doors. After the wedding glow faded and the cameras stopped rolling on that beautiful day, Lydia and Zac settled into what real life actually looks like. A small, cozy apartment in Tallahassee where every inch has a purpose and every dollar counts. You can see it right away on Welcome to Plathville. The mismatched lamps, the bare walls waiting for a few family photos, and Lydia laughing about those nightstands that still haven't arrived. It's simple, but it's theirs, and that alone fills her with joy. Lydia's always been the kind of person who finds gratitude in the smallest things. When she talks about her new life, her eyes light up. Not because everything's easy, but because she's finally living what she prayed for. Yet, in the same breath, she admits it's a learning process. Marriage isn't just about holding hands during church or posting sweet captions online. It's the daily rhythm. Who remembers to pay the bill? Who takes out the trash? Who's up first when the alarm blares at 6 a.m.? And that's where the real growing starts. Lydia has said in the show that communication doesn't always come naturally. She's open about how she used to avoid conflict, a habit she picked up growing up in a house where peace sometimes meant silence. Zac, on the other hand, is practical. He wants to solve things right away, talk through them, make a plan. So when those tiny disagreements pop up, over laundry, cooking, or just how to handle a long day, they both have to step back and remember they're on the same team. There's a scene that says it all. Lydia's smiling but nervous, talking about how marriage is more work than I thought. She's not complaining. She's realizing that love isn't automatic. It's built one conversation, one small act at a time. Zac listens, steady and kind, and says he's learning too. That's what makes their relationship refreshing. They don't pretend it's perfect. They show the messy parts, the frustration, the overthinking, the quiet moments after a disagreement when one of them finally says, "I'm sorry." What's beautiful is how they handle those moments. Instead of letting pride or hurt take over, they lean on what brought them together in the first place, their faith and their friendship. Lydia often says she prays for patience, and Zac, being the grounded one, reminds her that it's okay to take things one day at a time. Their balance, her sensitivity, and his practicality keeps their world steady. They're also learning the unglamorous parts of adulthood. Grocery lists, gas prices, saving for the future. Things that used to be handled by parents are now their responsibility. But even in that, Lydia finds gratitude. She'll mention how blessed she feels to make dinner together after work, how folding laundry beside Zac feels like teamwork, not a chore, and you can see it in her eyes. She's proud that their marriage is real. Not perfect, not polished, but honest. She's learning that love doesn't mean avoiding conflict. It means walking through it with kindness. That's why fans connect so deeply with her. She's not pretending to have it all figured out. She's showing that growth is the point. When Lydia says, "It's not perfect, but it's real," it hits home because she means it. Every little moment, on from a budget conversation to an apology whispered before bed, is part of building something lasting. And that's the beauty of watching Lydia and Zac's story unfold. It's proof that marriage isn't defined by picture-perfect moments. It's built in the quiet ones that no one sees, where two people choose to show up again and again, even when it's hard. For Lydia and Zac, marriage hasn't just been about learning each other. It's also meant facing the shadows that still linger from the Plath family's past. And those shadows have a way of resurfacing when you least expect them. Because as joyful as their wedding was, not everyone in the family walked away without bruised feelings. Viewers remember how the tension between Zac and Ethan quietly built up over time. Ethan, protective and cautious, had his own complicated history with family expectations. And when Lydia introduced Zac into that world, not everyone knew how to react. In one episode, you could feel the strain, a mix of love and distance, all wrapped up in the same frame. Ethan didn't mean harm, but years of family conflict had made him careful about trust. Zac, equally respectful, didn't want to push, yet found himself standing in the middle of a family still learning how to talk to each other. That's what made the later scenes so moving. When Lydia returned to the family farm, she walked the same paths where she once prayed for unity, only this time, she came back as a married woman ready to make peace. You can see it in her posture, a quiet strength mixed with hope. There wasn't a dramatic confrontation, no raised voices or emotional breakdowns. Instead, there was something softer, more meaningful, real conversation, small apologies, and the sense that everyone was finally ready to listen. When Lydia spoke to her family, she didn't try to rewrite history. She acknowledged the distance, the misunderstanding, and the moments that had hurt. But she did what she's always done best. She led with grace. She talked about forgiveness not as a one-time act, but as a daily choice. Her voice cracked a little when she said how thankful she was that the people she loved most were willing to start over. It was short, but it was honest. And it mattered. That apology scene reminded so many viewers why Lydia has always been the quiet heartbeat of the Plath family. She's not the loudest or the most rebellious, but she's the one who believes reconciliation is possible. Not by pretending everything's fine, but by telling the truth gently. Zac stood beside her, supportive as ever, showing that he's not just her partner in marriage, but her partner in faith and family healing too. And maybe that's what the Plath story has always been about, the tension between love and independence. Each sibling, in their own way, is learning how to live out their beliefs without cutting ties to the people who raised them. For Lydia, that means holding space for everyone. For Ethan's pain, for Mariah's freedom, for Kim and Barry's complicated love, and for her own journey toward peace. When the family shared that moment of forgiveness, you could almost feel the weight lift. Not just for them, but for everyone watching. Because it wasn't about who was right or wrong anymore. It was about choosing love, even after hurt. And Lydia, with her steady faith and quiet strength, showed exactly what that looks like in real time. Being part of Welcome to Plathville means that Lydia and Zac don't just live their lives, they live them while the world watches. Every smile, every prayer, every hesitation becomes something people online want to interpret. For most newlyweds, marriage is already a balancing act. But for Lydia and Zac, that balance also means carrying their faith while facing public judgment from people who don't always understand it. There's a quiet strength in the way they handle it. In one of Lydia's confessionals, she talks about how easy it would be to let other people's opinions affect her peace. She admits that sometimes the comments sting. The ones that question her choices, her sincerity, even her relationship. But instead of clapping back or shutting down, she goes back to the same foundation that's guided her since childhood: prayer, gratitude, and trust. Lydia has said more than once that she believes the Lord placed them in Tallahassee for a reason. That small apartment, the new church community, and even the slower pace of life, it's all part of what she calls the season we're meant to be in. Zac shares that view completely. When the show captures them together at church or praying before dinner, it's clear they see faith not as an image, but as a daily rhythm, something lived quietly, not performed. Still, being public figures brings challenges that most young couples never have to face. They've read the headlines, seen the YouTube reactions, heard people speculate about their marriage, their family, their future. But instead of letting that noise divide them, Lydia and Zac use it as fuel to strengthen what they have. They remind each other that what matters most is what's real, the truth they share when the cameras are off. In one heartfelt moment from this season, Lydia said, "If everything was amazing all the time, it would get boring." It's such a simple line, but it says everything about how she views life. She doesn't expect perfection, she expects growth. Every misunderstanding becomes a lesson, every setback becomes proof that faith still works even when life isn't easy. Zac, ever steady, echoes that with quiet action, showing up, working hard and keeping their home full of calm, not chaos. Their story this season feels less like a fairy tale and more like a testimony, one about endurance, humility, and choosing joy in ordinary days. While others might chase drama or applause, Lydia and Zac keep choosing grace. Whether they're cooking dinner after church, budgeting together, or facing a hard conversation, they always circle back to gratitude. And maybe that's what keeps them grounded when so much around them is loud and unpredictable. As the season closes, their message feels simple but powerful. Faith isn't just something you talk about when life looks good. It's what you hold on to when life is uncertain, when people misjudge you, when you have to keep believing that love and truth will be enough. Lydia and Zac aren't trying to be perfect. They're just trying to be faithful. And in a world that moves fast and forgets what matters, that might be the bravest thing of all. As Lydia and Zac settle into their new rhythm, the question naturally turns toward the future. What comes next for this young couple building life in Tallahassee? Between Lydia's bright laughter and Zac's quiet determination, there's a sense of peace about their path. They don't have everything figured out, but that's part of the beauty. They've talked about traveling someday. Not lavish vacations, but little road trips to visit friends, churches, and family scattered across the South. Zac, ever the planner, has a budgeting notebook that Lydia sometimes teases him about. He wants to make sure they're being wise, saving up, preparing for whatever God might bring next. Lydia finds joy in the simple things, decorating their apartment, planning home-cooked meals, and dreaming about what their future home might look like one day. And yes, the topic of children does come up, often and with smiles. Lydia's friends at church laugh about how she lights up every time someone brings a baby to service. It's sweet, innocent, and so her. She's never been shy about her hope to be a mother someday, but for now, both she and Zac are focused on building a strong foundation first. As Lydia put it in one of her interviews, "We want to grow together before we grow our family." There's also a deep gratitude that flows through everything they do. especially when they reflect on their wedding. Lydia often talks about how perfectly everything came together, even when plans didn't go as expected. The weather, the guests, the music, all of it, she says, was exactly what it needed to be. It's a quiet reminder that joy doesn't come from perfect circumstances, but from the heart behind them. This season also gave fans a touching surprise. Lydia and Zac meeting with Jinger and Jeremy Volo, watching them connect with another couple who's walked a similar path in faith and fame felt symbolic. There's mutual respect there. Not celebrity admiration, but mentorship rooted in shared values. You could see Lydia's eyes light up as Jinger talked about marriage, purpose, and trusting God's plan, even when the world doesn't understand it. It was more than just a conversation. It was a passing of wisdom, a glimpse of what a grounded, faith-centered life can look like years down the road. As their story continues, Lydia and Zac's journey feels like a quiet promise that love built on faith can weather anything. From small apartments to family reconciliations, from online criticism to new dreams, they keep choosing hope, forgiveness, and communication. Their story isn't about fame or perfection, it's about growth, grace, and gratitude. It reminds us that real marriage isn't measured in moments that look flawless, but in moments that teach us how to love better. So as we close this chapter, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What does real marriage mean to you? How do you see faith shaping family today? Share your reflections in the comments. And if you've been inspired by Lydia and Zac's story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our Sister Wives Daily community. Because in the end, these stories aren't just about TV, they're about all of us, learning, forgiving, and believing that love still wins.